speaking of Sherm played in a Super Bowl, I think that you might have called last time these guys played, Al.
Right.
What do you remember about? Yeah. What do you remember about that one?
Well, obviously, everybody remembers the one play at the end where Russell Wilson was intercepted by Malcolm Butler. What I remember about that too is that Malcolm Butler was like the number 6 or 7 defensive back coming into that game. He was not a regular. And then because I think Arrington got hurt or somebody wasn't playing particularly well, that's why Butler was in the game at the end. So fortunately, the night before, I was ready to go, but I looked at like the last 4 or 5 guys on each roster just in case. Didn't spend a lot of time, but just wanted to know a little something about them. And sure enough, he makes the play. So I'm able to make the right call because if you blow that call, it lives forever. And I'll never forget. So everybody talks about that play, and everybody basically says they can't believe they didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. So on first down, they gave it to Lynch, and then Hightower made that stop, the 1.5 yard line. On second down, now again, it was a bad call. Obviously, it was with a terrible result for the Seahawks. But I always thought instead of giving it, look, it's not a no-brainer to give the ball to Lynch and assume he's going to score. I mean, you don't know. I mean, we all know what it's like at the 1 yard line. It ain't easy. And I always thought, and it's kind of funny because I was working with Chris Collinsworth, who couldn't believe the call. Why don't you give it to Lynch? And, that's not the time to go back and forth with somebody on the air. You just want it to play out. But I always felt in my mind, why don't you roll Wilson out to the left? It's second down. And you got Doug Baldwin one-on-one on the outside. If nothing else, if he's covered, then Wilson can run it in. I mean, they're all packed in the middle there. So that was the play. Again, it's a deep, dark 11-year later second guess. But it seemed to me that was the play I think I would have run with Russell to the outside as opposed to throwing it over the middle. So there we have it. 11 years later, we're still talking about
Al
this.
Michael's play call. I love it. Al, I actually went back and watched that game, and I forgot. I love the play call there. I'm with you on that. I love a good rollout. But I was going to say, I went back and watched the game. I forgot all about that 2 weeks leading up to there was the whole Deflategate thing. You and Chris kind of talk about it in the broadcast. You're like, man, what an insane 2 weeks. Chris talks about I really challenged him with questions, like wanting answers. Like I just had forgotten all about that because so much is made up with the Marshawn Lynch thing. I'd forgot all about the 2 weeks before, prior to that game.
Totally. And then a guy named Chris Matthews who barely played all season long. He
hero of the game. Yeah.
The hero of the game out of nowhere. That's when you find guys like that could have been his great moment in the sun. People come out and it turned out to be Malcolm Butler's great moment in the sun. But that's why we love sports. You don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know.
Now, Al, do you ever in those weeks, like these big game weeks, when you guys get a chance to sit down, do you feel like I've heard Joe Buck share the story about the Seahawks and the Broncos that time, but do you ever get a feeling from one of those teams that one's got some nerves and anxiousness or the other one feels really locked in? Do you walk away from those meetings with any kind of thought to how the game might play out?
We do, but a lot of times we're wrong. And it's even when I work with John Madden, and nobody would understand the internals of a locker room than John, but we'd walk out of a meeting and we were sure that Team A was going to win. Team A would win. They would win the game. So, and that speaks to why we love sports. Even a John Madden would walk out of a meeting after having met with both teams and go, Team A is going to win. No. It's, it's the bounce of the ball. It's crazy stuff that happens. I mean, look at the playoffs this year. I mean, if that catch interception is ruled the other way in the AFC, I mean, Buffalo's probably, they would have gone to the championship game anyway. But I mean, that's, and meanwhile, you can look at that play 86 different times and go, I still don't know whether it's a catch or an interception.
So, 86 different speeds. And you make a total different thought. That's for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
Some of the other Super Bowls you've called out, one of them, we've got a lot of Bills fans that listen to the podcast, and
not
no good,
fault.
wide right.
Yeah, not fault.
I feel like it was the announcer's
This is all he wants to talk to you about.
What can I tell you? No, I know, no good, wide right. I had, the Rams in Tennessee back in 99 and Kevin Dyson gets tackled by Mike Jones at the 1 yard line. Crazy. And then we had the Giants and the Patriots, not the 07 game with David Tyree, but the 11 in 2011. That game ended on a Hail Mary that fell incomplete. And the game between the Patriots and the Eagles in 17 ended on a Hail Mary incomplete. So that's these 8 of the 11 that I've done have gone right down to the nub.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, of the 11, 8 of them went down to the final minute. So that's pretty cool. There were a whole bunch of ones I could choose from. But if I had to pick one, I would say following the 2008 season, Arizona against Pittsburgh, for a number of reasons. Because first of all, the Arizona Cardinals had been horrendous. When John Madden was my partner, it turned out to be John's last game. And when I think in the introduction, I said, when you think of the Steelers, what do you think about? And he said, championships and rings. When you think of the Cardinals, what do you think about? He said futility. And that was the case because through the years, and don't forget, that's the year they finished 9-7, won the division. I think in the next to last week, they went to New England and lost 47-7, but they won the NFC West. Beat, I think, Atlanta at home in the wild card, go to Carolina, upset them. Beat Philly. It's the 4 against the 6 in the championship game for the NFC. They win that. And then I know Dick Ebersol was at NBC. It was his first Super Bowl since they reclaimed the package. And he was going crazy. He says, we don't want Arizona. I said, Dick, relax. It's the Super Bowl. People don't wake up in the morning and like a couple doesn't go to the kitchen table and go, hey, Zelda, the Arizona Cardinals are in the Super Bowl. Let's go to the movies. They don't do that, Dick. And as it turned out, it got the highest rating at that point of any Super Bowl. So what was in that game? In that game, Kurt Warner's playing for Arizona. Larry Fitzgerald, who had a phenomenal game, obviously. That would have been the postseason for the ages, all 4 games. He was phenomenal. You've got James Harrison, what for me was the greatest play in Super Bowl history. 100-yard interception return at the end of the half. Crazy. Down the sideline, he's almost getting tackled 15 times. Fitzgerald has to run out of bounds and come back. And then the clock goes to 0. If he's tackled at the 1 yard line, that's halftime. And then you've got Fitzgerald catching a pass from Warner about 50 yards with 2.5 minutes to go. Arizona has the lead. Roethlisberger leads them down the field, keeps making third down conversions, and then that pass to Santonio Holmes with 3 guys on him. So you put all of that together, and then it turned out to be John Madden's last broadcast. That's my favorite.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm glad you don't remember anything from that game, though. Unreal.